The war in Ukraine began, European Union stand in solidarity with Ukraine. And in order to do that, European Union had imposed sanctions on Russia so that the Russian economy is unable to fund the war that is happening in Ukraine. However, with this brings some concerns like price rise and the energy crisis, and which is going to be, or rather which is an electoral issue as far as Europe is concerned. Hi, my name is Anindita Ghoshal and I create content on international issues and history, and if you are interested in such topics, then do consider subscribing my channel. So let's move on. In this episode we are going to cover some few points, like we will start by that how European Union or how Europe became dependent on Russian gas. Second point is that what European Union has proposed as a sanction. Number 3, we will talk about that what are the challenges if they completely cut off the gas. And number 4, what are the alternatives that Europe has as far as the gas is concerned. During the 60s and 70s, Europe supplied the same amount of gas that it used to import. The production of natural gas in Europe decreased because North Sea gas got depleted. Again, in order to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, EU reduced its dependency on coal. By 2030, EU is supposed to cut the carbon emission by 55%. And now, as we know, that only 20% of the electricity comes from coal. After Fukushima accident, Germany had rejected to invest in the nuclear energy, and with that only 13% of the Europe's energy now comes from the nuclear energy. And hence today EU is largely dependent on the Russian gas. With that, the Russian 41% of the gas that EU imports from Russia, then 24% from Norway and 11% from Algeria. As EU is hugely dependent on Russian gas, certainly such sanctions will impact their economy as well. So in the mid-August, natural gas stopped to 3,100 per cubic meter. Electricity prices rose up to 300% in 2022. European households are now struggling to pay their bills. IMF calculated that in mid-July, for Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, full cut of gas from Russia will drop their GDP by 6%, and global economic growth would drop by 2.6% in 2022 and another by 2% in 2023. And in order to lift the sanctions, Russia had many times closed the Nord Stream 1. So Nord Stream 1 is the pipeline through which Russia supplies gas to the Europe. And with that, under the pressure, Canada had lifted her sanctions, and would Europe succumb to that as well? As far as Europe is concerned, if Europe does not buy Russian gas, then what are the alternatives? So here they are. EU has turned to more expensive liquefied gas or LNG, which comes from United States and Qatar. Germany is fast tracking the construction of LNG imports terminal, but certainly it is going to take years. Gas is a bigger problem in Europe than oil, so Norway is the another source and from which Europe can get the gas. And again, United States could be the another possible supplier. Germany is looking to import LNG from Qatar. Italy is looking to Algeria for gas supplies, and Germany is certainly looking up to develop the renewable resources, and thus it will focus on solar energy. However, as we see in the news, whenever there is an election in Europe, the question and the prices question is very evident. And with that, there is something that we need to ask, that whether can Europe manage to hold on the sanctions that it has imposed after the war, and thus there is a question of the survivability of the Europe as a whole.